You make that. You ready? Yeah.
Testing.
Your microphone on you? I'll do that. I'll say this from, was able to just in there. But I'll keep it.
Do I just here or you?
No, I'll do that on myself.
Good evening. We shall call to order the East Tampa Community Redevelopment Area Community Advisory Committee meeting. The time is 6:01 on the third day of February in the year of our Lord 2026. At this moment in time, would you please stand for invocation and pledge of allegiance? As for invocation, it will be a moment of silence. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. You may be seated. At this time, we will have a roll call. Ms. Frankie Jones, Ms. Kim Hetland, Ms. Mimi Martinez.
Here, I'm online.
Thank you. Ms. Tonette Gaines, Mr. Carlos De Leosa. Good to see him back in the room. Mr. Cedric Carrington, Ms. Joanna Lanice Holbert, Ms. Diane Ziegler, Ms. Janine Horvitz, Ms. Andrea White, Andrea White. See, Miss Cabri Winters, Miss Ebony DeCosta, Jeffrey Johnson, Della. What did I say? Della Osa. Would you excuse my ignorance to the pronunciation? I'm gonna work on it. All right. We have established quorum. At this time, we will allow for public comments. If you have any public comments to share about the agenda or any good for the community, we do give you 3 minutes of time. We ask that you would state your name, whether you're a resident or from an organization, and you have 3 minutes. At this time, whoever desires to come to the podium, please come state your name.
Hand on the microphone, please.
Good evening. My name is Maggie. As everybody knows me by Maggie. I am a Wealth Builders Case Manager Director with the Corporation to Develop Communities of Tampa, which is also known as the CDC. And I'm here to inform you all of our second implementation year regarding the Wealth Builders Program, which has been generously funded by the Children's Board of Hillsborough County. So we are currently targeting 3 zip codes, 33603, 33610, and 33619. We provide case management services, which include anything from personal growth, professional growth, certifications, training, and also any type of education that the individuals may be in need of. These services are eligible for participants that are either expecting parents, caregivers, and parents and caregivers with children from birth all the way up through 18 years of age. The adults must live, work, or attend school in the 33603, 33610, and 33619. Anyone who desires to further their education or employment, they are free to contact me. I've left my flyers on the table, and this is the latest initiative that we have with the CDC of Tampa. So thank you all for your time.
Are there any others for public comment? Are there any comments online? Being none in person or online, we will close our public comment section. At this time, I need an approval of the January 6, 2026 meeting minutes. It has been moved by Mr. Carlos and second by Miss Andrea White. I'm working on it, so that's why I didn't butcher it. I'm waiting. It has been properly moved in second. All in favor by saying aye. Opposed with the same sound. Those minutes have been passed. Tonight, we have several presentations and discussions. The first one we will have is a presentation on opportunity zones by presenter Tony Brown of the Tampa Bay EDC. Mr. Brown, I'm sure you've been informed that you have 10 minutes, and then there may be a round of questioning from committee members. And then we will have the CRA Housing Program and Developer Activity Update by Ms. B. Parks. And then we will have staff reports led by Mr. Nunez in that order. At this time, we will have Mr. Brown to come. He has 10 minutes, and you are being timed after you begin your presentation.
I was not set my watch too, so
Thank you, because I will stop you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Tony Brown. I'm the Vice President of Community Development for the Tampa Bay Economic Development Council, and it's a pleasure to address this board again. I think it was about a year ago where we addressed the board. We're doing the Live, Learn Development in East Tampa and Columbus, partnering with Integral of Florida. The Tampa Bay, well, I'm here to talk to you about opportunity zones. And, okay, I didn't put this in. There we go. Okay. Here to talk to you about opportunity zones. I'll tell you a little bit about our organization, who we are, what we do, what are opportunity zones, how they work, how are the qualified opportunity zones selected. And we've done some analysis, and then what are eligible investments under the program, and then the nomination process. As B probably knows, when you look at a capital stack, there are primarily three sources of capital. There's equity, debt, and grants. And so the opportunity zones, if you can remember anything, is about how do you attract equity into targeted areas. All right, so this is a little off kilter. I'm sorry about that. I should have probably given him PowerPoint. I think he got.
Can you repeat the three?
Three sources of capital: equity, debt, and grants. So the question might be, well, what's the most expensive source of capital? And that probably depends. In many cases, most people think it's probably debt, but in some cases it could be equity, and equity is primarily priced based on risk. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. So our organization, we're a business organization. Our funding comes pretty much from the local business community. We do have service contracts with the city and county. If a company calls to discuss relocating into Hillsborough County, we get that call. And so we work with attracting companies into the area, helping existing companies grow and stay, and work with our academic institution and making sure that we have a talented workforce. I was hired to manage our inclusive economic growth strategy, which is primarily our mission in targeted redevelopment areas and opportunity zones. As I said, an opportunity zone became permanent in the Big Beautiful Bill, along with New Markets Tax Credits. About 10 years ago, it was a new program, and you can see the opportunity zones that were designated here in Hillsborough County. It's a federal initiative. It's designed to encourage investments in qualified opportunity zones. And the way that incentive works, if an investor had a capital gain, and if they invested that capital gain into a qualified opportunity fund, then that fund makes investments in these designated opportunity zone areas. And so the map that you saw previously were the opportunity zones that were designated in 2016. With the program now being permanent every 10 years, the governor and the federal government will reset opportunity zones. So we're here to talk about the process of how we're going to select or at least recommend the opportunity zones to Governor DeSantis, because it's his nomination to the U.S. Department of Treasury that will determine where the opportunity zones are. So as I mentioned, it's an equity program. Opportunity zones are nominated by the governor and confirmed by the U.S. Department of Treasury. An investor would invest capital gains, not ordinary income, but capital gains into a qualified opportunity fund. The investor gets tax incentives. So why would an investor put money into a qualified opportunity fund? So the first set of investments, they more or less get a discount on the taxes that they pay on that initial capital gain. If that capital gain is invested in a qualified opportunity fund for at least a 10-year period, then the next subsequent capital gain becomes tax-free. And so when I talk about equity and what the cost of equity is, it's an encouragement to get investors to look at underserved areas in order to apply, in order for our projects to be able to attract capital for a variety of different projects, and I'll share what a few of those are. So the opportunity zones are geographically defined. One of the major changes in the regulation is that a opportunity zone was potentially an area that was at least 80% or less of area median income. That has changed to less than 70%, or you could go up to 125% of area median income if the poverty rate is at least greater than 20%. Governors nominate the tracts. Statewide, they are limited to only 25% of all eligible tracts. So it's important for us to get this right, to make sure that we've identified the tracts that are important to attract equity. And in addition to that, that will help spur economic development. So Hillsborough County has 335 census tracts. Based on the federal definition, about 31%, nearly 32% of our census tracts qualify under the new definition of an opportunity zone. If limited to 25% of eligible tracts, then that number becomes 26. And so in the first OZ program 1.0, we had 32 designated tracts, and you can see the census tracts that were designated an opportunity zone in East Tampa and in the other Tampa region. They're outlined. When you look at what was a previous opportunity zone and what the opportunity zones are now, these two maps show you the distinction between what are the changes. The biggest change is in our downtown and Water Street area. As a result of the growth and the change in demographics downtown, that area will not qualify under the QLZ 2.0 program. All the census tracts that represent the East Tampa CRA still qualify. And so we looked at each of the city's CRAs to say, with the new definition, what would happen? Would we gain, lose? What would be the outcome of the census tracts? And so presently, 12 of the census tracts within the East Tampa CRA, 12 of 15 are eligible under QLZ 1.0. 9 of your 12 census tracts were designated opportunity zones. One of the other major changes in the program is the reporting requirements. I wish I could tell you how much capital each of our opportunity zones attracted. I can't tell you that because under the old program, there were no requirements to report. Under the new program, there are major requirements to report. So going forward, we'll be able to tell you what we've been able to attract in our opportunity zones. So what can an opportunity fund invest in? They can pretty much invest in anything. The program was formed really to attract equity for businesses, to buy a business, to grow a business. And then there are some other requirements as to what the business can own and what the business can do. You can buy and develop real estate. This program has been particularly beneficial for market rate, mixed rate developments that are in opportunity zones. So there is very little projects that are exceptions to this program. And in the graphics, what you see there As you know, our partnership with the East Tampa CRA has been to focus on the industrial district along Columbus Drive. And you can see the makeup of the businesses that operate within your industrial area. So we are currently working with our city and county partners to identify the census tracts that have the potential of drawing equity based on major projects. We're looking at the overlays. We're overlaying the CRA boundaries in each of the we're overlaying the CRA areas in our region to make sure that we are analyzing all the potential catalytic activity that can spur development. And then we're using Florida Commerce criteria for evaluation. We intend, in working with the city and the county and the EDC, we intend to rank our top 30 census tracts and make that recommendation to Florida Commerce, who we hope that process will influence them in making the recommendation to the governor to select the tracts that we feel are most impactful to our community. You can nominate the census tract if any of you in development or you. I know Dr. Johnson works with the CDC at Tampa, so we're asking our community partners, the investors in the EDC, to let us know what are the projects that you have that should be nominated in this process so that we can identify the census tracts that have the most catalytic impact. And you can go to our website at Tampa Bay EDC. The top banner, you'll see EDC services. You click on Invest in Opportunity Zones, and it'll take you to this form that we've sort of replicated from the Florida Commerce's criteria in order to then analyze the 106 tracts and where the activities are so that we can make the recommendation that we feel is most impactful to our community. So I had my 10 minutes and I had to talk fast, but I wanted to respect your time and make sure that I left time for questions. So the process in summary. So we're going through this very open process so that we can gather as much information as we can from our community to analyze the census tracts and the bundle of tracts that should be nominated by our governor to the Department of Treasury. Florida Commerce has given us a deadline of about March 31st to make our recommendation. The governor, by law, has 90 days from July 1st to make the recommendation to Treasury. Treasury will just more or less validate the census tracts to ensure that they meet the federal requirement, and then they will make that formal designation by December 31st, and then that takes us into the following year for the next 10 years to see how we and you can attract equity in the projects that are important to you, where this program hopefully will have value. And with that, Mr. Chair, if there are any questions, I'll take them.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. We'd like to entertain any questions that you may have for him in this round robin fashion. Ms. Hetland, we'll normally start with your side of the table, but I'll switch it up tonight and start with our vice chair and then proceed on.
Mr. Brown, thank you for your presentation tonight. No questions. Actually, it's pretty straightforward as far as the process. The only thing that I would add is just as a community and as an advisory board, what can we do? How can we assist? Because we obviously are here because we have a lot of projects that need and require the attention for job creation, real estate, etc. All the things that we're speaking on. What can we do as an advisory board and community to ensure our voices get heard and those things go to the proper channel?
So I'm sure if y'all heard the question, what can you as advisory board do to ensure that that your projects and this program meets all the things that you're interested in as a body? We're making the effort to come out and talk to each of the advisory committees because we do feel that you are important and that you care about what happens in our community and or where are the projects. And so I think for redevelopment areas that have come up, that some of the things that you can do, you can kind of spur the possibility of the creation of opportunity funds. I do have the pleasure of serving on the board of the CDC of Tampa, and I've talked to Ernest Coney, about all sorts of tools, including creating an opportunity fund. I know the CDC of Tampa with their Nehemiah Fund, without the advent of this program, had been successful in raising capital to buy land in order to spur development. And I kind of went over it quickly, but the program would allow you to raise equity, leverage it with CRA dollars, as an example, in order to do site assemblage to do future development. So it allow you to more or less control your vision for what that redevelopment can be. There are some requirements to make sure that you just don't land bank, or that developers aren't just buying property to land bank, because there's a period of time that they have to improve it and develop it. But I think you can think of all the ways in which we all know that what complicates our ability to redevelop our neighborhoods is pretty much the cost of a project, and what are as I mentioned, the sources of that. It usually, if you're doing land assemblage, if you're buying a building to fix it up, to redevelop it, typically requires equity or major chunks of equity before you can then convert that product or that property into something productive.
Thank you.
Ms. Winters.
Can
Can you get the mic to?
I just,
Who's the next person?
okay.
Out of these 4 development areas that are listed here, obviously we're rooting for East Tampa. Are they only choosing one to propose and get approved, or are they proposing all of these areas and we have to share the resources?
So I think you're referring to the map I showed under the QOZ 1.0, where you had the different clusters. It just so happened that and I wasn't here 10 years ago when the first set of opportunity zones were designated, but what I have complimented city officials on is that under QOZ 1.0, when you look at the fact that most opportunity zones have overlaid with your redevelopment areas, you don't see that in other areas across the state. So I commend, the city planners and others who took advantage of the program 10 years ago. Whether or not that will continue to be the same cluster, that's why we're going through this process now. 10 years ago, it was a top-down approach. The governor of Florida Commerce decided on the criteria that they would set, and they had an objective of making sure there was an opportunity zone in every county of the state. Well, we've been told that even though there's a 25% cap, we've been told just to follow their criteria and recommend the number of census tracts that we think that are in underserved areas that would be catalytic. So we're not necessarily held to the 25% cap, but we know that might be something that they'll look at. We do think that it does make sense to cluster. So the only thing is you have the 106 tracts that have to meet the federal guidelines. And then from there, what is the makeup? There are several things that are happening on the national and statewide level. On the national level, for coastal communities with ports and military installations, the Trump administration has promoted military prosperity zones or maritime prosperity zones. So we've looked at all the census tracts that run from Ybor and run up to the port and along our coast to say, can we create jobs related to the maritime factor? There's a focus on manufacturing. So where are the manufacturing clusters? I showed you the industrial area in East Tampa, which is already an opportunity zone. So we think there will be clustering. We've already qualified the area where the Rays may relocate at Hillsborough College. So that area also qualifies. So those are the things that we're looking at. And we want to make sure that they don't necessarily all have to be big projects. That, as I mentioned, and I know what's important to this body is neighborhood development. And so you have infill lots. Now, doing the opportunity zone program for infill lots makes it difficult to do what I'll call onesie twosies. But if we have community organizations like the CDC of Tampa, the University Area CDC, and others that can develop in bulk. And so how this program could benefit them is the conversations that we're having.
Okay.
And I'll be a little more succinct in my answer so we can get more questions in. So I like the vice chair smile. The chair doesn't smile. So
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for your presentation. It is a lot of information. It's also a lot of very genre-specific language. So forgive me if this question seems obvious, but I have a couple. Can you define a census tract? What is that?
So I won't be using the federal definition, but uh, the way that a lot of federal programs generate funding is by the definition of census tract. And so a census tract is primarily defined by the number of people or households within that targeted area. So in an urban area, census tract may be less than a mile square footage as opposed to a rural area that may be more expansive because it's less populated. I think the general rule is to have less than 5,000 people in a census tract. And that, don't hold me to that number, but there's some number of where you designate the census tract, and to try to make it contiguous. And then when you then begin to look at the demographics within that census tract, you've probably seen a number of programs that have focused on affordable housing and multifamily. And so HUD will define where it puts its place-based investments in census tracts that where the area median income is 80% or less. And so once you then define the area of a census tract, you then look at the demographics within that tract to determine if it's low, moderate, middle, or upper income.
Okay, thank you. So that makes sense. Number of people or households in a targeted area. So is that partially why downtown was able to no longer qualify as in
So
opportunity zone?
in one of the presentations I made, one of the questions was, well, could this program spur gentrification?
Right.
And my honest answer was yes.
Right.
Whether it can or not. So what you've seen in downtown, and those of you who have lived here longer than I've only been here 5 years, you have seen the transformation in downtown, namely due to large multifamily development. And so that has changed the makeup. So previously, Channel Side, downtown would have met the definition of being a low moderate income community. But because of the growth and the density of large scale residential development, that has changed the demographics.
Okay. And so is there a specific or a different process that the EDC uses when focusing on neighborhood development that centers like the investment in human capital versus like the acquisition of businesses or development of land?
So in coming in, our definition of where I would focus was based on the opportunity zones that the city had set.
Okay.
And that pretty much still is. And as I mentioned, because the CRAs overlap, I tried to build a partnership with folks in the city that are focused on economic development, housing development. And we, as an organization, don't really do housing per se, but we do support our partners that do affordable and workforce housing, because we know how important that is to have a workforce that can afford to live in our community and work.
All right. So is there a facilitation of a process that it makes people feel like or involves them in the economic development of their communities? Like, does the EDC have a process for that? Or is that what you're coming to us as partners to do?
I think what I'm doing now, this is sort of part of our process to be engaged. We don't feel we know it all. We like to be enablers. We like to listen and put folks together. The organizations, investors have invested in me to be knowledgeable of federal programs so that in turn, I can be a partner to our government and private sector to find sources of capital to close gaps.
Okay. Thank you.
When there's her name, I call her.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Yeah.
hello.
Can I turn it back on? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good. How are you?
There's some.
Awesome. See you soon.
No, we were just gonna say, can we go back for a second? We have the in-person comment. Question real quick.
No, it's controlling the presentation.
Oh, that's me.
You don't.
I was gonna go back.
I think that's it. The guy that's sitting out there.
No, maybe.
Okay, well, I'll just go ahead. What are the, well, so it looks like it's not the entire East Tampa CRA. It's 12 of the 15 tracks, I believe,
I think it was 9 of 12.
or the
I
current.
should have introduced my colleague, Diego. Raise your hand. Diego is a senior at USF, and he's interning with me this year, and he's done a lot of our analysis. And that's particular slide, I think you have, there are 15, 12 or 15.
Oh, 15.
And-
Okay, so if you get projects for all of those 12 tracks, how will you choose them? I mean, you'll have a pot of money for investors. How will you, who will make the decision of deciding which project gets funded? Will they all get some money, or only certain ones that rate higher will get the buckets of money from the investors? Like how does that work?
So our objective is not to decide which projects get funded or not. Our objective is what are the projects in the pipeline that are looking for funding, and particularly equity. So a community facility by a nonprofit doesn't necessarily allow an investor to make money. So we're not necessarily looking at community facilities by nonprofits. The Skill Center, for example, would not be a project that an investor would invest money for a rate of return. And so, as I mentioned when I showed you the slide of the industrial area, I reported at our last board meeting that the former Clorox building that has sat vacant for the 5 years that I had been here finally had a tenant. And in this case, the tenant was attracted, and that the owner of the property was able to bring that property back on the tax rolls without any financial assistance. And so a program like Opportunity Zones could incentivize the private sector to buy vacant, blighted property, to bring it back on the tax rolls to reinvest. And so those are the types of projects and the types of areas that we're looking at.
Right. And then my other question was just, what are the dates for the fiscal year 2027?
So once these census tracts are designated an opportunity zone, they will stay in place for 10 years. So, and then every 10 years, the governor can then, if the program's still on the books, can then recast additional census tracts. So just like what has happened in the last 10 years in our downtown has seen a major revitalization, that it is no longer a low moderate income area by federal definition. So you're able to take those tracts to identify other areas to spur development. And communities may not be interested in being gentrified, but they may be interested in seeing storefronts filled along Hillsborough Avenue, or see mixed income projects are developed in areas where there's zoned multifamily, for example.
Thank you. I don't have any questions.
Okay, good evening and good pitch. Thank you for that. What characteristics do you look for in identifying opportunity zones? Are you looking at AMI solely, geography and proximity, slum and blight? Do all these things contribute to your algorithm that goes into a calculator that says, okay, that's the first question. And you talked about prioritization, which is great. Whenever two things are competing for one resource, there needs to be some type of model for prioritization, right? So what's your methodology? And is it objective based on analytics, or is it subjective based on other considerations?
So we're trying to have a very objective process, and to some extent it may also be subjective. The criteria was defined by the law, and that's every census tract that where the area median income is at 70% or less, or you could go to up to 125% of area median income if the poverty rate in that census tract is equal to or greater than 20%. So that's how we were able to identify that in Hillsborough County, there are 106 potential census tracts. And then the law says that the governors can nominate statewide no more than 25% of their eligible census tracts. So a state like Florida, Governor DeSantis can nominate 30% of the tracts in Hillsborough County and do a smaller percentage in Manatee, as an example. And so our criteria, we're being as objective as we can, but we're not making this a process where we've just huddled with a few people to come up with the 30 or less census tracts. We're making sure that folks in the community know a variety of interests, not just the board members of the Economic Development Council or major developers that may be talking to me or other folks in the city and county, because we know that particularly among this body, you're also interested in Main Street type development. And what are the tools that can do that? And so we're letting our partners know that this is one of a variety of tools that you may be able to use to help push your economic development interests.
Okay, thank you.
Before we read it, we'll go around and then we'll come back.
Thank you for your presentation. Considering that this is an election year and the governor's not up for re-election, is this something that he could potentially table? Or is there a firm date that the governor has to approve this by?
There is a firm date that governors have to make their nomination. And I'm not sure what happens in the law that if they don't. I don't think there's any penalty or anything. I mean, the governor or any governor, I was going to use the word foolish, and maybe that's not politically correct, but this is a tool to spur economic development. We're in the economic development business, and one of the disadvantages we have in recruiting companies to Florida is, unlike Texas and Georgia, we don't offer companies incentives to relocate. And so if to the extent that we can identify federal programs, tax incentive programs, CRAs, tax increment financing that can attract companies to allow us to compete with Texas and North Carolina, Georgia, that are offering funds to offset the cost of relocating, that's why this program is important to us, because we don't have the tools like other states have to help companies relocate.
Excellent. Thank you.
We acknowledge Ms. Martinez at this time.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Mimi for the record. Welcome back, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
It sounds like the opportunity zone is going to be leveraged for the EDC to get started on the East Tampa Industrial District, correct?
It could be beneficial, yes.
Okay. So I guess I just wanted to, I don't know if everybody on this committee knows about that, because what I'm hearing is that this is a tool for economic development, and it's something that we can leverage to bring in major development, which is something that in our CRP really shows how we're using those CRA funds and partnering with private entities and tools like opportunity zones to really show that we're being meaningful with our CRA dollars. Grants are great, but in the grand scheme of things, when Tallahassee's looking at our CRAs, they want to see what have we done that's going to be a lasting impact on the community for years. And I think we can all agree that job creation is the one thing that can really have meaningful impact for generations to come. So I do recall when you were here before presenting about the East Tampa Industrial District, and I know it does say in their opportunity zones is a tool and is a way to kind of bring those developers in to reinitiate the industrial district, because I do believe that that's like the one area in East Tampa that we need to capitalize on. So if you can just briefly talk about that, because I don't know if everybody on this committee even knows that that is actually what the EDC is partnering with CDC for, and to use opportunity zones is to build up that industrial area for us in East Tampa to bring in jobs and have housing. And I think CDC is also going to be on that site as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Ms. Martinez. We'll try to go back to that slide. So the East Tampa Industrial District that Ms. Martinez mentioned, you can see it depicted here. And it was about 3 years ago that we worked in shadow of the East Tampa CRA as you were updating your strategic action plan to look at an area. When you did your strategic updates, you mentioned the East Tampa Industrial District, but you didn't go into any details. And so through our foundation, we made an investment to hire an urban planner to talk to each of those companies that you can see highlighted with the buttons to understand, well, why are you in East Tampa? What makes you operate here? We even knocked on the doors to see, to take a look at the employees and to understand their workforce development. And what we found very pleasantly is that the exterior, you would think the businesses are not vibrant or struggling, but when you go inside, they're not. You saw very active economic development. You saw a workforce that was largely from the outside, not necessarily residents of East Tampa. And so we recommended programs that could attract more residents to be hired by these businesses. There was very few properties that were available to be acquired. And we heard that many of the businesses had been there for a number of years and that they choose to be there because of the access to the highway. And you can see the makeup of businesses that are in construction, food production, and transportation and fleet services. And so, and then the one vacant property, as I mentioned, was the Clorox building property. I think it's at 3601 North Columbus that had stayed empty and had been vandalized. And so we made a number of recommendations to the CRA on your grant programs. And this was when the previous administration was in place, that we recognized that many of your grants were such to spur neighborhood revitalization, neighborhood business development. But when you look at the scale and magnitude of your industrial base, that many of the grant programs did not spur the property owners to take advantage. And so we made a series of recommendations that we think led to the CRA deciding to consolidate its grant programs, where each CRA had separate programs under one bucket, in order so that you would have the tools to incentivize major redevelopment. And that's probably important in areas like East Tampa and Drew Park, where you have significant industrial properties. And so our focus has singularly, as your partner, been in this area. You don't see it on the bottom, but the one vacant land the city acquired, where you supported the Live Learn development. And B has been very active in working with the residential developer. And in December, with your recommendation, the board approved $9.7 million to do infrastructure and to acquire the rest of the land for a combination of affordable housing. And then our organization is leading on the economic development component, where we're hoping to put together a manufacturing incubator along with our partners at the CDC of Tampa. And Ms. Martinez, hopefully I answered your question, but this, so can the Opportunity Zone be beneficial here? Absolutely. I think for several reasons. One, because manufacturing, not only in the state, but nationally, is an economic priority. And so a qualified opportunity fund could be organized to the extent that there are property owners willing to sell to sort of do what I mentioned, sort of the land banking in the future, to take down some of the blighted properties and to rebuild that community and still attract manufacturing companies that will commit to promoting its job openings in our community. And part of the recommendation that we've had was to team up with CareerSource to make sure things like that does happen.
For the sake of time, we have to curtail the conversation. We've gone over the time. I know Ms. Fran Tate is online. I'm not for sure if she has something to say. Then we're going to come to Ms. Headland And only if it's necessary to do a redirect, we'll give you that time. But if not, we'll continue with the rest of the presentations. Ms. Tate.
No, sir, Chair, I have nothing at this time.
Thank you kindly, Ms. Headland.
Thank you for the presentation. Just, is there any notion in Opportunity Zone 1.0, roughly how many projects, properties, folks at all took advantage of that opportunity zone in East Tampa?
I wish I could tell you that. As I said earlier, one of the criticism of the program was the fact that investors and folks who took advantage of the program did not report. Some did voluntary reporting. There's a national accounting firm called Novogradac, and they document investment funds that voluntarily report. So I wish I could tell you how much equity was attracted in East Tampa, but because there is no reporting, I can't. Going forward in our conversation with the city, we hope to gather that information, and probably in 2028, after 1 year of activity, we can tell you that. We know, because they're investors in the EDC, that SPP, Gasworks, Durham Shaw have used this program to redevelop Gasworks and Water Street. I think one of the Marriott hotels was done with an Opportunity Zone fund.
Well, I think this sounds like it's a great opportunity, not just for the large scale projects, but potentially for those mid-size and even small infill development. So if there's any opportunity going forward to partner to educate folks about that first step of the creation of the Qualified Opportunity Fund for newer developers, for local developers to understand how to take advantage of that in our own backyard, that would be incredibly beneficial, I think, for our community.
I think that's great. And I'll conclude the final. What did you want to redirect? I'm so sorry. Ms. Quarles, you had something else? Okay. I was going to say, in finality, Ms. Headland, you bring up a great point, because several new developers, those on a smaller scale, have come through. And so based on this process, we can go online and encourage them to fill out the data or the information for potential opportunities and projects that are available. And then I will be interested to know what is the overlap between perhaps East Tampa and West Tampa, for a business developer to have a trichotomy of business in both areas, in which they may have more than one location, in which persons may have an opportunity to work in either place, and it brings economic development on both sides. These are the things that we've been talking about in our CRP moving forward with community development and affordable housing and supporting businesses, that we want opportunities as such, and not being afraid of private partnerships and the money that they're able to bring into the residential community. Because if we're saying that we want to see jobs, these are the things that we cannot be afraid of. And what is it that we could do to encourage our community to become more appetizing and approachable for organizations to come over here to say, we would like to start businesses in the East Tampa area. So thank you, Mr. Brown, for your presentation. And we look forward to having an update. And then we want to encourage all of our small development partners, contractors, to fill out the information through the EDC website for them to be a part of this calculation. At this time, we have a CRA housing program and developer activity report by Ms. Parks. I do ask, when we do the round robin, if our committee members will have their questions prepared. I think it will help expedite and move things a little quickly.
Okay, good evening, B. Parks, CRA Community Development Coordinator for the record. I'm here to give an update about land and what we're going to do with it moving forward. So here we go. So each one of you have a copy of the map. So the map has all of the parcels that we own in East Tampa. So as you can see, there's 41 parcels that we own. In that list, you'll see in the additional slides that I took out the parcels that are related to the 2 RFPs, which you'll hear. One, of course, Palafox, the other one, 12th and Osborne, is included in that. And then also we have the Gator building. that's also included in that. So that is the major list. I have some for the public back there, along with property sheets, which give the detail about the zoning, which is very important, how it's currently zoned, and the allowed density on that. So as we move forward, the Fox Street request for proposal, these are the parcels that are included in that proposal. So as you can see, those are the folios and the addresses. There is 7 that will be included in that Halifax proposal. As you see below, this is currently in legal review, pending purchasing review, and then it will be hopefully released in March, no later than April, to the developer community. Let me remind you, we did a vision session on this already where the community came in, put dots on what they would like to see built on that parcel, and based off of costs that came back to me with the sewer connection, tree removal, because it's heavily dense with trees, that cost and those visioning session remarks have already been placed in that RFP. So let's move forward with 12th and Osborne. These are the folios that are included in that. You can reference that again on your property fact sheets and also on the map so you can compare it. Those again is currently right now under our CRA legal review. Then it's going to purchasing, because as you know, we follow chapter 163. It has to go through purchasing to go out and dispose onto the developer community. So I'm hoping for a March, no later April release for that RFP. So there's going to be 2 active RFPs happening at the same time for major development. So as we move forward with the infill development program, as you can see in your budget that you're given, we have a line item for infill development. So the CRA infill development program, it facilitates the construction of new affordable and workforce housing on vacant or underutilized lots within the East Tampa CRA. This program is designed to activate CRA-owned lots through phased development, ensuring alignment with zoning, infrastructure readiness, community priorities, and long-term affordable goals. So as we move forward, we're going to look at doing this in 3 phases, okay? So phase 1 will consist of those parcels, which the maximum units available you could 21 units can be built maximum density based off of how it's zoned right now. So again, this is residential only. So why it's going first is because we don't have to do any zoning applications. It could go as is, as single family townhouses or semi-detached. All of that can go as is at the moment. So this will be the least heavier pull for the RFPs. This will be a separate RFP. Then we move forward with phase 2, which is the mixed use development. So this is mandatory as is zoned right now. Commercial, which has retail stores, or commercial underneath, and then it can go residential on top. The maximum units that can be built based off of zoning as it stands is 27 units. Those are the folios included in that phase 2. Again, you have copies of that. I also have that back there for the public, along with the map as well. So again, mixed use projects with residential as the primary component, neighborhood serving commercial, retail, office, community serving uses, and then lots required might be some additional design and infrastructure planning. So that's like midterm. Then as we move forward with phase 3, this might take a little longer. So these are the ones that currently their zone CI, or they need a S1 permit in order to add residential to it. So as it stands right now, we might need to have some type of special review for these or variances. So this might take a little longer. So that's why I did put long-term on that. So again, lots requiring special use permits, rezoning or variances, more complex development scenarios. And this is very important. These might be subject to additional community engagement. So as we just did with the Halifax and the 12th and Osborne, if there are some lots that gauge interest to have some out of box thinking as it relates to housing, 3D printing, container, all of that up and above. We'll bring that to the community and gauge the interest for those. So those will be long term. So the Gator building, the building site, again, economic development opportunity. So non-residential, this site overview. The Gator building site is intended for economic development uses not related to housing, with the goal of stimulating job creation, commercial activity, and a long-term economic vitality within the East Tampa CRA. The site will be made available through a competitive request for proposal to solicit development concepts from the community and development partners. So you could see those folios as well. They're reflected on the map, and you have individual site sheets for those as well. So next steps, as I currently mentioned, these two right here on top, they're currently in legal review, awaiting administrative review. The phase one, I'm looking to have by FY27, so starting October. This is currently being drafted. This will take an additional legal review. And then again, purchasing has to release that. Phase two, spring of fiscal year 2027, currently being drafted as well. Just FYI, I drafted the entire infield RFP, but then I had to break it up in phases. Once I realized I have to phase this out. Okay, so that's spring 2027. And then, as I mentioned, with that phase three, it is going to take a little bit more time. I don't have a time frame as it stands right now, so I did put to be determined. And again, we'll analyze that as it comes. Questions?
I'll start this round off. Thank you for your presentation. I did not see any recommended time stances for the Gator building. Where are we with that? We've and the community has shared great disdain that that property hasn't moved forward in the last 7-8 years that it's being owned. This is good here. We understand that it's for economic development, but something a little bit more concrete that the neighborhood and the community is able to see. And then finally, I know you can't deal with this today, but somehow being able to address, Ms. Tate brought this up in the last 2 meetings about the folios and those parcels when they were purchased, so we can kind of map out when these phases would take place in comparison to when those parcels were purchased, so that we're able to see this is when they were done. Now this is the phase that they're in. This is how long it took in order to accomplish that, or for the RFP to go out for some developer or some community organization to get that. But that's on another end. More specifically about the Gator site, where are we with that when it comes to some form of timeline?
Okay, so I don't have that question for you. I just gave you the folio information because it was part of that major list that I presented tonight. So I wanted to, while you compare the map versus the property sheets, recognize that those folios are attached to that site. Now, I'm not involved in the Gator building because it's non-residential. So I will provide Felix an update on the RFP that's going to be written for it. I'm not writing that RFP.
Because we were under the assumption when you weren't able to come last month, I believe, to give presentation, that you will come sharing when the RFP will be available. So your colleagues, yes, we discussed that. No, that was a part of that. Maybe this is predates you, but it was saying that Ms. Parks will be able to give information about an RFP. And several community members had concerns about that, if you remember that. So now, if that is not in your wheelhouse for this to be a commercial property for economic development, we would like to know who is the person that will be accountable for providing a timeline for seeing this done, because the community specifically has said about this Gator building and it just sitting there, that is now becoming an eyesore and a nuisance because nothing is happening with it.
Yes, sir. So
I'm giving an update as part of the manager's report, so we can.
okay,
Okay.
he'll give an update on that.
Thank you.
Now, as it relates to historic data, I'll go with real estate because that predates me to get the historic data on when the lots were purchased. Correct, Dr. Johnson? That's what you want?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ms. Tate brought it up, and we were told that we would get that information of knowing what's on our inventory list how long they've been sitting there. And so we can kind of compare how they're moving into RFP process compared to when they were purchased.
Okay,
So
it's a long time.
that's on record. I know it predates you,
It predates
but that's
me.
the only way accountability takes place,
Okay.
that you put those things on the table that we're able to say, this is when it happened, so it can move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, B. No really additional comments. I think the only other thing, I think I mentioned this to you a little bit earlier, is having real estate come in. I know you wrote it down a little bit earlier. I've had, I think Cedric was working on that just for us as a advisory board. I think a lot of us are knowledgeable and know, but so that the public understands the process and that they understand just really the ins and outs, because for them and also us, it's just things are sitting. You know what I mean? What is the strategy? What is the plan? When is it going to happen? And we need to understand, okay, what is the strategy? Site control here, this is how that process works, etc. So I do, echo that would be very, very beneficial for them to come in, address any questions that we have, especially ones that you can't even answer. So again, thank you for your presentation.
So just to ask a clarifying question, because of course real estate will ask what they need a report on. So you want from real estate to find out what they acquire properties for, because we as practitioners over the program, we ask them to acquire property in order for it to develop either commercial or affordable housing. But you want them to come and speak on how the process of buying city land goes, because that's all they can speak to. Programmatically, we control the program, meaning even Housing and Community Development Division, they control based off of state, federal guidelines on how they're going to purchase or disseminate. Real estate just holds all the real estate, so they can come and just give a practical report on, hey, this is what we do. We do an environmental 1. Then if we find issues with that, we do an environmental 2. Then based off of that, we then release it to whatever department chose for us to purchase land. So they can only report on that. They can't report on what each department is doing. That's where I come in. I could report on what we're doing with our land.
I appreciate that. I think to help the residents of the community, for real estate to be able to identify when properties were purchased, and not only to know what the purpose of that property is, but it also shows what the community has been saying, that the residents in East Tampa feel as if movement is not taking place. These are documented things to be able to verify. We've had something in our stack of what we own in East Tampa for 12 years, but no plan has been developed. So I think the only way that you can hold whatever department accountable, you can say the property was purchased at this time and it's not even in a phase. It's not even a part of a tracker. We don't know what's going on with it. So that may not be on you. That's the reason why I want to be able to do an analysis study based on what residents have asked. When were they purchased? What's the purpose? When is it going to move? Some type of timeline. And we haven't received that yet.
I like that.
Thank you, B. When it says in parentheses like 5 DU or 1 DU, what does that mean again?
The designated units. So development units, DU, how many can be constructed on that parcel?
So that size up a lot. Okay, great. And also, you had mentioned that phase 1
residential only
should be the easiest because there's no zoning change required. So I just was wondering if maybe you switched those by mistake in the timeline of one of the last pages. To release the RFPs in the fall for phase 1, but the springtime has phase 2, and that you said was a little more.
So fall, when I think of fall, that's when our fiscal year starts. So fiscal year 27 starts 10/1. So spring 2027 is actually that March, April of that 2027, the actual 27 year. So fiscal year 27 starts October 1st, 26. And then the physical year 27 is when we're looking at that. And it can move up a little quicker, but I don't want to be held. I mean, I'm going to be managing those two RFPs, that development and unit creation. I haven't even talked about unit creation, but those are going to be starting, which is what you already approved already.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, B, for that. Just because we were just talking about opportunity zones, in retrospect to these properties, there is a map where we can find out based on the folio or the address if they fall into an opportunity zone, correct?
Correct. And Mr. Brown is the point of contact for that. I'm actually going to be working with him to identify the ones that I should be looking to develop first. So that's hence why he came. And then I came after. Was we're kind of teeing that up together. So once we identify, which is more of that industrial, that mixed use, which is what he was referencing, that's when I'll go back and report that. But all of these, this is the map of the entire East Tampa CRA, and this is all that we own.
Thank
the
you.
East Tampa CRA.
Okay, hey, that's a great overview. Thanks, B. So I don't really have a question, but more of a request. So I think what our fearless chairs asked for was the analysis, but I'm not asking for analysis. I'm asking for historical context, right? I request an aggregate timeline from when the city purchases something to when it goes out for RFP to when it encounters the development and growth to when is the occupancy. So that's historical context for each building, right? So if we purchase something on 19th and Osborne, when did we buy it? And when do we actually see someone actually doing something with it, either as a store, as a house, or whatever? So we can look at that aggregate maybe over the past 10 years to figure out how productive we've been. And that feeds into the things we're trying to do before we sunset this program, right? To extend it. Maybe if we have that across the 4 different categories that you defined as what, infill, residential, mixed use, and entitlement dependent, is that something that we can do? So regardless of who's responsible for it, one person has to be accountable for, okay, this is how long it typically takes for this type, and this type, or are we letting things languish?
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, on the record, off the record, I completely agree with you. I'm going to request that information along with Felix for them to give us that historic data on the lots that was purchased that's on this map right here. And then how long it was sitting there. You're going to see what you already know, but we'll put it down. And then what we typically, it could move faster, right? As far as the RFP process, right? I believe it is moving faster because of the fact that you have a designated person within myself now and a designated lawyer that's for the CRA.
Right.
When we were sharing legal team and not a designated person, it was just going through HCD. It's a lot.
Right.
Okay. So now that you have a person that designated, okay, I'm gonna move these lots forward, and then I'm working with a legal team to say, yeah, the legal team only focuses on our stuff. In the future is going to move quicker than the past. I think about the future, so I just told you what we're going to do with them, but I completely understand about historic data. Now I'll get with the real estate to say, hey, when were they acquired? You know, they could go back that far and have those records, and then Mr. Nunez can ask real estate to come and present.
Okay.
Yeah, I think to the chair's comments just about accountability, and maybe this is not a you thing, maybe it's somebody you just delegate pulling all this information. In the time that we've gone through the questions, I've been able to pull all of the dates for Halifax. And the majority of all of the properties were purchased in 2024. 3 of the properties were purchased in 2024 with the remainder in October and July. So it's something that could be very easily done just for us to understand the timeline on how long it's taking from purchase, getting to us, going out to RFP and development. There's been a lot of conversation lately about extending the sunset, right? And the clock is ticking. So we definitely want to move this as fast as possible. You're doing a fantastic job. And I think that you probably have a lot on your shoulders right now, and you're probably accepting a lot of responsibility for things outside of what you do. So what we're asking is to find somebody that can help you pull all this administrative clerical stuff for us to do and delegate that to somebody. So continue doing all the hard work that you're doing. You know, I'm a big fan. And we do appreciate everything that you're doing, but just from the chair's position and this board's position, it's all about accountability. And again, in the span of 5 minutes, I was able to pull all of the dates just by going to the property appraiser site on sales information. Okay. So this is definitely something that someone on the administrative end, some clerical work can be done just to get that information for us. Okay?
This has been perhaps one of the most cohesive meetings we've had as a committee, and I'm grateful for that. Before we get to Ms. Headland, thank you, Colonel. Thank you, Mr. Carlos. Does Ms. Martinez or Ms. Tate have comments?
Yes, sir. Hi,
course.
so Mimi for the record. So B, I have a question for you that maybe you can answer or not answer because housing is your field of expertise. For the Gator building, I believe it's zone commercial intensive, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then that could be it could be mixed use and residential, right?
Yes, it can.
Okay, is there an opportunity for us to partner with the Tampa Housing Authority to develop that property?
So we could put it out for RFP and then just encourage people to apply. We can't directly partner with them per chapter 163. We have to go through purchasing and we have to go through a competitive process.
Okay, and I just, if I may, Chair, I just want to follow up with that because I do know for sure that Encore Central Park is a CRA and they have partnered with the Tampa Housing Authority. And a lot of the development is because the Tampa Housing Authority does have their hands involved in that. And they also have their hands involved in the West Riverwalk development too. So I'm just trying to figure out how we can get a piece of that pie over here in East Tampa with having the Tampa Housing Authority come and help us too, because I know that they can fill in some financial gaps and can help. But so I guess I'm just curious as to how did the other CRAs be able to partner with the Tampa Housing Authority?
It's through a competitive process, Mimi. So again, with what they have built so far is based off of what they built. They didn't partner with us. They're just building within that CRA. And we're just lucky that we're that CRA. I could speak specifically about West Tampa, and Central Park was there for years. So that's the reason why they're there. Now, for them to apply for that RFP, it'll be a different thing. Hopefully they will. I would love to have them come and build that, especially because they know how to do mixed use development. So yeah, no, definitely.
Thank you.
Ms. Tate, don't have any?
Okay, just a huge, huge, huge thank you for this timeline because I think we all are seeing kind of the light at the end of the tunnel a little bit in terms of seeing a roadmap, seeing some of these assemblages come to fruition and hopefully an advertised RFP. The other thing I'm thanking you for is there's a huge amount of work for anybody who wants to flip through and go through this. There's a huge amount of work that's been done on each of these folios and parcels in terms of analyzing, figuring out dwelling units, figuring out densities, what can be used, what it will be most optimally used for. Just so on the infill side, this is tremendous. This is a huge heavy lift, and thank you, because I think this, if anybody has time, go through it because it should really kind of inform as we have these parcels. Our zoning in a lot of areas is pretty limiting in terms of density. And so kind of seeing it spelled out like this is really helpful. And it speaks volumes, and I just really, really appreciate having a timeline and having all this data. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Kim. And for the record, I want to say thank you, Bryce, from the planning project side. Bryce is our on-staff urban planner. So he's the one that looks up all the information. We tag team this initiative. And I, I wouldn't have done it without him. So yeah, I just wanted to provide that detail. So again, when you leave here, or the public leave here, they could get with developers and start already planning on what they can build at. And that's why I wanted it so specific. So then again, you can disseminate the information.
Thank you, V. We've come a long ways. I would tell you that we have come a long ways with some information, and my questions tonight and even my inquiries were not based at you. It was just more or less the frustration of not knowing what the process is, and I'm appreciative to my colleagues for understanding that we're in sync with our questions to see things move forward with the CRA. At this time, we'll have our
Excuse me, Chair.
yes.
Friend
Is
Tate,
that
my
Ms.
hand
Tate?
is up. Yes,
We
my
didn't see
hand
your
is up.
hand and you didn't speak, so we'll come back to you. Come on. I didn't see you or hear you.
Okay, but I got
acknowledge
my
it.
little electronic hand up.
Oh, okay. We just moved the presentation down so we can see it. So my apologies. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you
Those
so
are some
much,
nice
Ms. Park.
drapes, Miss Tate, behind you. Very nice.
I'm in my dining room. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Mrs. Parks, thank you so much for your hard work. And I mean hard work. I really appreciate everything that you do. I want to say to the chair and to the manager that I did find the document listing all of the lots that we've purchased, and I will be forwarding that over to the manager ASAP. We've been discussing a Gator building for about 8 years now. And I just really, really, really want to see more movement on the Gator building because as the chair stated, it is an eyesore. It kind of looks like you want to fall down or something. And then we got a collection of community members hanging around the building. So I really want to see, I just really want to see some movement. A lot of neighbors are asking about it, texting me about it. I have no information to share with them, but I really want us to focus. I know we have a lot on our plate that we're focusing on, but I'm just really ready to see something. It's been 8 years now of conversation. But Mrs. Parks, thank you so very much for all of your hard work.
Thank you, Ms. Tate. I think you address all of our sentiments of frustration with the Gator building. At this time, Mr. Nunez, I guess you're still new until it's been 90 days. Has it been 90 days yet?
Not quite yet.
So you're still new. All right. We haven't even had your first evaluation, your 90-day evaluation. He's going to lead us in our staff reports, and then we'll come back with new business. At that time, committee members, if there is anything that you would like to share, that will be a time that we will go around round robin again.
Okay, I'm going to go over the infrastructure and capital projects tracker first. A lot of this we've already gone over because Beach gave a great presentation that covers most of these projects. The project at Sanchez y High is moving along. As you all know, we funded that for over 3 years for some of the work that's going on there. The stormwater pond project is not yet started, either at 22nd Street or 26th Avenue. And as of now, it's just pending. Sorry, I can't see. All right, yeah, they're just waiting for preliminary design work and pending completion of funding allocation. So for those, that's the update for that. The rest of this is all the residential stuff we've gone over as well. The alleyway study has not yet started, but that's waiting on our CRP update. So once our CRP update is complete and we've structured out the right framework, we can start with our alleyway study. Wayfinding and gateway study, it's going in front of the board this month for approval after we put it on pause to get further feedback from the community per Councilwoman Young's request. So it should be approved on in our February board meeting by the CRA, and then we can move forward with implementing the plan.
1 second.
Yes.
Okay, did you have anything on that? Were you working with Wayfinding?
or overlay? Okay, all right, thank you.
No problem. The arts program, the art project on 34th Street at the roundabout. The call to action, the call for RFP went out on Friday, January 30th. So it's available. Yeah, it's been the RFQ was reviewed by the arts and cultural staff and by the selection committee, and it went out on Friday. So we expect about 45 days for that before to close that and restart reviewing the different RFPs. The 88 parking enhancements are moving forward. We're monitoring the progress through project completion. Our project team is. For our commercial grants, at the moment, we have several leads. We actually awarded a couple of awards, one for 1.5 million to the Hardware LLC, another for 148,000 is been awarded as well for, I can't read it myself, it's too small.
It was awarded 75,000. That's their total.
I apologize. I'm sorry. The project cost 75,000 has been awarded. That is our grant. I apologize. Same goes for the hardware. I cannot read these. Todd's. Oh, can you read that? I apologize. I'm gonna have to print this out a little bit bigger, but it's pretty detailed here. Who's in application, who's in lead status, and who's been awarded. We've so far we have 1, 2, 3, 4 awarded. And we had a couple of withdrawals. Just the applicant decided to withdraw their application. I can by next month we expect to have more, as we have some applications in the pipeline. For the housing update, Ms. Parks gave us the presentation, but this month we've expended $171,193 totally in dollars. We've assisted 2 homes and received 1 application for the HRRP program. For the down payment assistance program, we've had 5 closings, the total amount of $230,000 in down payment assistance. And for the year to date, HRRP has 16 homes in progress with $936,412 expended, and our DPA program, down payment assistance, we've assisted 19 homes for a total of $880,000. And B would like to add to that. Yes, thank you. Yeah,
please, absolutely.
Okay, so I want you guys to take a look at the report and just give some feedback on what else. I know one thing I'm going to add, which is going to be the individual unit creation and conversion projects laid out fiscal year. So you'll see each one of the projects, and then you'll see what the monies is earmarked for FY 26, 27, 28. Just to remind you, the unit creation and conversion program is where they have the project and we provide the funding for them. Not that we're giving them any land. I want you to remember that. And then in addition to that, I also added a flyer here because we're being requested from Habitat for Humanity to do another block, Rock Your Block. We did it in Highland Pines before, but I just want to reactivate that again, maybe nominate some streets in Highland Pines again. It's just hard to kind of reach Highland Pines for some reason. And I ride by there and I see boarded up windows. So I think the next thing is I probably just have to go to that community center again and try to activate that. But this is for you to nominate individuals, and it's just minor, it's 10 grand, but they could do landscaping, painting, and all of that. And I know that could help out someone in need or whatnot. So
we make the font just a little bit smaller to really challenge you myself?
I know.
Yeah, we'll work on that for the next meeting. I apologize. I couldn't even read it myself, so that's a little embarrassing. Okay. Let's thank you for the housing. For the budget, it's self-explanatory, and I'm glad to answer any questions if anyone has any particular questions on the budget. And so I don't want to read it to everyone. If anyone has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them regarding the budget. Okay. So I'll go over my manager's report. It's the East Tampa wayfinding. I just talked about it. The wayfinding signing presentation will be brought before the board reflecting the updated community engagement, the additional community engagement feedback. We're going to request that the board accept it, the final concepts, and authorize us to proceed with the next phases, which is implementing the actual signage into the district. The East Tampa CRP, we based on discussion from the last meeting, the East Tampa CRP is going to move forward for board consideration and approval as is. And at the request of the CAC, a separate motion will be presented to approve an amendment to the CRP that adds language allowing for research and preliminary exploration of a potential CRA sunset extension. The amendment is intended to occur in parallel and will not delay adoption of the current CRP, which is what we need to move forward. So we'll work on the amendment. Will not be able to be presented until at least March or April, just because of the timing of the agenda. And last month's agenda, we did not have a CRA board meeting last month due to a cancellation. So the agenda is overly packed now for the next 2 months.
Are we on for March or April?
Well, I am going to try to get it done for April because we weren't able to add any new items until because of all the carryovers. Yeah.
East Tampa is being addressed in March or April. You know?
Oh, for the CRP?
No, in general.
And
the East Tampa report is in what?
You'll be making your report in March to the CRP to the board. Where at which time I think you should mention that we're going to do that, and then in April we can probably move the presentation, the request forward to add that, make that implement for the CRP update. 31st Street Roundabout, as I mentioned, it's been sent out for RFQ. It's going to be open for 45 days. I've included the link here in the website here if anybody would like to look at the RFQ, and also to refer any artists that you might know that may be interested in applying for this. The Gator Building redevelopments. So early due diligence activities. Over the past month, staff has initiated several early stage due diligence activities related to the Gator Building site to better be able to inform future CRA and CAC board decision making and to support an efficient and well-coordinated redevelopment process. I understand it's been going on for a very long time. But it's actually one of my priorities to move forward, not only with the Gator Building, but all the available sites that are open for redevelopment. So that's why Ms. Park and I are working very well together and closely to make sure that we get as much movement and action as fast as possible. So Wednesday, January 28th, site preparation happened at 2209 East Lake and 3620 North 23rd. Those are two of the component sites next to the Gator Building that are going to be part of the bigger footprint. So a temporary fencing, CRA signage, and security measures have been taken there. So the site has been secured. At the Gator Building, the two sites next to it, the 3620 North 23rd and the 2209 East Lake Avenue. So not just the Gator Building itself, but the parcels around it that we also own. Yeah. So it's been secured with the fencing and CRA signage up. Just so we're moving forward with that. The CRA staff took a site visit to Lakeland, which was myself, Ms. Director McCray, our urban planner, Bryce, and another member of the planning department upstairs. We went out to Lakeland to visit one of their co-working facilities and talk to the CRA team in Lakeland, who's done a lot of incubation, creation, and development of commercial, not commercial, of public use spaces in Lakeland. So we went to them just to get an idea of what the process is and learn best practices, because they've stumbled a lot and they had to learn a lot, and it was a long process for them, and we'd like to learn to avoid some of the mistakes and pitfalls to avoid, so we can move forward smoother with some guidance from CRAs who have already done it. So that was a great field trip. I call it field trip, but it was a good site visit. And I'll continue working with the Lakeland team as questions come up, like just for best practices, so we avoid mistakes that they encountered along the way. There weren't mistakes, there's just learning lessons, and when we're trying to do something at this magnitude. So assessment RFP development. We are developing an RFP for a comprehensive assessment of the Gator Building site. So this is going to cover, it's supposed to support informed planning, and will include like market research, preliminary budget and feasibility analysis, land use and zoning review, and concept development, which will be informed by existing community feedback that's been taken over the years, and to do community engagement on initial concepts based on the feedback that was already collected from the community over the years. So this is a comprehensive assessment, and the RFP is going to be detailed. We have to write it and prepare it. I'm going to reach out to the Lakeland team to help us make sure we're getting all the right nuances, what they missed in the beginning that we shouldn't miss, to make sure that we get a full, accurate assessment. This approach is designed to consolidate early analysis and reduce the need for multiple consultants, because constantly, RFP is going out for this, RFP is going out for that, RFP for that. We're trying to avoid that by doing one overall assessment up front, so we can move forward quickly with this, move with the momentum that we have. And to provide clear information to the CAC board, the CRA board, and the council. So future actions are considered. We're also coordinating internally with the Department of Economic Opportunity and City Planning to explore some potential development concepts and funding alignment. So it's not just us paying for this. We need to get other public-private partnerships involved. So that's another thing we're looking at right now as we move forward, trying to tee that up now. So when the time comes, we're not just sitting there stuck with a plan and no way to move forward. So I'm trying to tackle this from all the different angles. Because my concern is to get the Gator building site moving as well as quickly as possible.
We acknowledge Ms. Martinez, the mistake.
Thank you, Chair. This is Mimi for the record. Mr. Nunez, can you back up for a little bit? Because I just want to make sure what I heard was correct. So in February, the CRA board is going to vote on adopting the CRP. And then in March, our CAC chair is going to ask the CRA board about extending the CRA.
In March, he's giving a presentation for the East Tampa CAC, and he plans to, in that presentation, address that you are all as a body looking for that, and then we can bring it to the recommendation to the board in April for the amendment language.
Okay, and then at that time,
to not delay the CRP. I'm sorry.
Right, and then at that time, I would imagine the CRA in April is going to walk us through what that process and that timeline is for us to extend the CRA, correct?
Well, we would just need to get their approval to move forward with that amendment. Yeah. And then we'll walk through the process.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Tate, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your updates, Manager. Excuse me. You mentioned that fencing was going to go up around the Gator building area with signage. Can I suggest that we use something larger than a yard sign? Can I suggest that we might place banners on the fencing that's going to go up, because we're very proud of the work we're sitting here on this board doing, and everybody from the city that's
it's already up, and it's going to be wrapped. It's going to be wrapped around. Huh?
Oh, excellent. Okay, all right.
And then the sign that's going to go up is our CRA banner. It's not the yard sign. It's our banner that says Tampa CRA Strengthening Community.
Love it. Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. Yep. Committee members, new business. Go ahead.
Information about the applications for the I was just going to make a suggestion. I want to make sure I'm understanding this list correctly. The grant name means the pot of money that is coming out of on this list. Okay. And so already have a list of what's left in the budget. And then are we able, so when they put in an application, are we able to see the date of the application?
Are you talking about the commercial grants or the?
That sheet is for the commercial grant.
Yeah. Yes. I guess it's safe.
I think she's looking at this one. Looking at this. Application.
Oh, no.
It's not him.
No. Yes, I'm referring to this list, but I'm asking for, I understand that. Thank you.
I'm asking if a date, we don't see when they applied. I was just asking, is there a date able to be?
I can ask the commercial team to give me the dates. Is there one in particular you were interested in, or just?
No.
Oh.
I thought we were just asking for feedback.
Oh, yeah,
on the
no, no.
list. Okay, got
So
it.
in general, you'd like to see dates for when the application is coming?
Yes.
That would be helpful, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so just again, I want clarification. I'm helping them out. Date of consultation request or date when the application was fully accepted? There's two different.
Probably
Okay.
accepted.
Fully.
Yes.
That's a good.
Because there is a lag on it, meaning that once they hit the consultation button to request to meet with the team versus when they have a completed application.
Yes. That was my only feedback on here, other than it needing to be a little bigger. Because I
Yeah.
have great eyes and I still can't
around
see
that,
it.
sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm actually working on generating my own version of these because these come to me already prepared, pre-prepared. And so I'm going to work on something a little more visual friendly that works for us better. And we'll make sure we include that information that you recommended too.
So just again, acknowledgement, on January 20th, the Southeast Seminole Heights Civic Association held their first quarter meeting. B Parks and Felix were there. They came on their own free time to discuss a project that B is working on. It's the Destination Church. And we just want, on behalf of the association, the board, we want to thank both of you for coming out and speaking to the homeowners in the community. This is a project that has had a lot of a conversation over the past several years. When the CRA purchased it in September of 24, the CRA has been very willing to work with the community and all the stakeholders in the community. So we want to thank you for taking the time on the 20th to come and speak at our meeting. So I commend the both of you. Thank you very much.
You. Pleasure.
Back in August, the Tampa Planning, Tampa Hillsborough Planning Commission basically presented their comp plan amendments, the 2045 plan to City Council. Part of that plan included transit-ready corridors, making sure I'm using the terminology correctly. Those corridors for East Tampa included Columbus, Nebraska, MLK, Hillsborough, 22nd, 50th. The vast majority of those corridors were removed by council at that August hearing. And the entire comp plan amendment was tabled to be reheard February 17th. That's in just a few short weeks. Unfortunately, tonight, the Planning Commission had their outreach meeting at the library just south of here to go over and gather feedback from the East Tampa community about those transit-ready corridors that were kind of wholesale removed from the plan. Again, the ones that were removed were Columbus, 22nd, MLK, and 50th Street. The thing that removing those corridors does is those transit corridors allowed for an increased density, an increased number of housing units along those corridors, usually about a block and a half in off the corridor. So by limiting that, you're decreasing density, you're probably limiting housing attainability. You're definitely limiting a diversity of housing options in the East Tampa community. And you're limiting the density that draws things like commercial, retail, economic development for East Tampa. If you are so inclined, I would encourage everyone and anyone to go to City Council on the 17th and or contact your City Council people. Encourage that the East Tampa corridors be added back in.
Ms. Hetland, it's the 17th. The corridors?
Yeah, Columbus, 22nd, MLK, and 50th.
The corridors that were removed by motion were Columbus Drive, 22nd Street, MLK, and 50th Street.
Ms. Hetland, could you send that an email to Mr. Nunez and he can send out to us those corridors? So we'll have that for our electronic records for you. Thank you.
Chair, can I
Clinton.
add to that? It's Mimi.
Mimi wants to speak. Mimi's trying to speak.
Yes, acknowledge. Ms.
So
Martinez.
I'm just piggybacking off of what Kim had said. So they kept Hillsborough County, Hillsborough Avenue, Florida Avenue, 40th Street, Florida Avenue, and they also added Kennedy Boulevard. So the intent was to focus on those major corridors that have high traffic volume. And those actually do align what's in our CRP. I mean, we've identified that 40th Street, Hillsborough Avenue, Nebraska Avenue, Florida Avenue, those are major corridors that are in our CRP. So not all is lost. The goal is to really build up density in those major bus-ready routes. So I would highly recommend you watch the city council meeting so you can hear what was still left in. Yes, there was some parts removed, but I would highly recommend to watch that. City council meeting was in August. I don't have the exact date on hand before you make a public comment, just to get the whole picture. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Under new business, Mr. Nunez, I want to find out, I know it was a part of the partnership. I'm not for sure what it is for the CAC, our attendance policy for CAC members. I think we all understand our responsibilities, but there are a few members who've missed at least 2 or 3 meetings in a row. Yeah.
Yeah, since that's another thing that they're seniors.
Yeah, so we need to look at that. It's not fair to those who come consistently every month and those who are not coming. So we need Mr. Manager to look into that. Okay, yeah, it is. When is that date? Is it orientation?
March 9th.
Yeah. Okay.
March 9th is the orientation for new CAT members, but all are welcome to attend. You don't have to be a new CAT member to attend if you want a refresher. That'll actually be here.
And then
Excuse
also
me, Chair.
acknowledge.
We discussed when I served as chair, sending a letter from the CAC to those members, and then after that, taking harsher actions. I don't know what happened with it. Maybe we still have the documentation about that. I know it got to be in some minutes somewhere, but you are correct, sir. It is not fair.
Yeah. So I appreciate that, Ms. Tate. So if you'll look into that. Also, those of you who've
Yes,
looked
sir.
on who've looked on social media the last couple of weeks, we've worked with some local, I would say, food store practitioners to identify areas in East Tampa that are deplorable to our residents. One of them in particular on the corner of Columbus and 22nd was Bud's supermarket. I personally went in there to talk to the owner. This was 2 weeks ago. And while I was in there, there were food items that were not properly stored. There was visible mold. There was parts of the roof that was coming down. There was vermin, feces. And while in there, a rat ran across my foot. And so we talked to Detective Washington for him to call code enforcement as well as the health department. The owner agreed that night to shut the store down, and he did shut the store down for, I believe, 9 days. They're back open now. I went in there. They're doing some level of cleaning. They've patched up the roof. My greatest concern is I would like for Mr. Washington to come back in. It's about time for him to come back in for a meeting with our board anyways. I don't think we've seen him in about a year or so. So we need him to come back in. A greater thing is, because it's not just Bud's, there are several stores in East Tampa where there are food deserts and persons cannot make it to grocery stores. And these stores are selling bad food to our residents, making them sick. And they don't know the channel to complain, to share about those things. And something has to be done. I want to know, how is the health department allowing these stores to remain open? And I want to know when those inspections took place And I want to see the paperwork on it because there's no way that Bud's could have passed any inspection in the last 10, 15 years. And it's not that same store. You have several stores that are going around. And I'm not the police. I'm a volunteer like everybody else. Code enforcement and health department need to do their job. I have a job. I can't take away time from my job as much as I love East Tampa community, and it's not fair. So someone needs to be held accountable. If you guys know, of course, being a part of the CRA, the business district falls under us. Not only just housing, but the business district as well, according to how our CRP is written up. So all of us have a state invested interest in this. If you see stores, we need to report it. We need to give this information to Detective Washington. We need to call the health department, and you are entitled to say you are an East Tampa CRA member. You have been appointed by city council or elected, however your term was, and you have that power to be able to do that. So we all need to be on the same page when it comes to this, and we need to shut down these stores that are serving bad products to our community. So I would like for Mr. Detective Washington to come in ASAP. He and I did talk, but we just need to talk about this and put this on the table so we can have a formalized plan and start identifying a lot of these businesses in East Tampa that's really bringing disruption to our community. All right. All right.
Excuse me, Chair.
Don't.
One second. We have in-person comment, then we'll come back to online.
Thank you. Does this body have the ability to convene community gatherings that help residents figure out how to participate in processes like complaining about stores, what channels to go through? As you mentioned, some people don't know the proper channels to call or communicate or make complaints. So could we as a body do that for our community and kind of do some type of school, if you will? East Tampa like to train residents on how to accurately participate.
So interesting that you said that. We're gonna, I know that there is an organization that is looking to do a citizens academy for residents in East Tampa. If we were to do something of that convening, we do have to vote on that, and then it has to be publicly noticed because we are a sunshine body. So we can't have any meetings that are not recognized according to sunshine law. But I don't think that there's a problem. Before many of you came on, the CAC used to have subcommittees where this kind of stuff and work would happen, but that was disbanded. I'll leave that at that. So we have to pick up the work with that. But I think it's a great idea, and I can share with you offline a couple of organizations that are looking to do citizen academies to train our residents for matters of such. And you'll be a good person to help with that. Okay. Anything else before we bring this meeting to
as far as new business? No, I have some announcements.
Yes, please.
Mostly it's available on the flyer here, but our next CRA board meeting is February 12th, 9 a.m. at City Hall. Our next CAC meeting is March 3rd at 6 p.m. And then remember, March 9th is the next training for the new CAC members and any members who are interested in getting reacquainted with the guidelines and the policies. Have a couple of, I'm sorry. Yes. For the board meeting? For the CAC training?
This meeting? Online.
It's on, yeah, public notice, yeah.
Guys typically send out.
No, there's just one calendar invite that's available to the public on the public notice. But we will be inviting all the new CAC members to the board training on the 9th.
Oh.
That'll be coming out shortly. Sorry? We'll email it to you, yeah. Mm-hmm. Couple of announcements. City of Tampa is hosting its 38th annual City of Tampa Black History Celebration, February 6th, which is this Friday, at the Tampa Convention Center. It's free and open to the public. We'll be honoring our veterans. One special veteran that we know will be getting honored will be Dr. Johnson. But all are welcome to attend. Flyers are, I handed the flyers out last month, and I'm just giving them out again today to make sure they're available on the table as well. The Hillsborough County Historical Advisory Council and community leaders are unveiling 10 new Soul Walk historical markers on Monday, February 23rd, 10:30 here at City Center. So everyone we urge everyone to come out for that as well. I have just a couple more community flyers. There's an Empowering Women Through Entrepreneurship events going on March 7th at South University. the Tampa Family Health Centers. The second Saturday of every month, they have free cooking demonstrations. All the dates are available here. The East Tampa Flowers have their flyer here for the regular sessions, as well as a March 28th special event at Robert L. Cole. And then at the end, we have some down payment assistance flyers and home renovation program flyers. Everything is available on the table as well for those in the community. And that's it for me.
I will say this, I offered to usher for that event on Friday, and then they said that they were honoring me, but I couldn't do that without people like Colonel Carrington that served as an airborne ranger for 2+ decades to serve our country. I'm new into this, but I definitely give deference to your leadership and all of the great things that you've done as well. I'm just getting started, and you've been a part of this, so I stand on your shoulders, sir, as a supreme military officer. So thank you for that. At this time, we will bring this meeting to adjournment at 7:51 p.m.
Mr. Chair, one more announcement, please. Give me a second.
On adjourn. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Paint Your Heart Out Tampa is April the 18th. Team Jackson Heights is looking for volunteers. I think I text most of you, emailed you. Information is on our website, Jackson Heights website, my website. Please, 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 I need 25 able-bodied participants. I need your support, need your help. Thank you.
Please send to Mr. Nunez.
A date, time, and the flyer, please.
All of that stuff. We are adjourned again.
What time?
7:50.
Oh my God. 7:52.
I'm cold.
I'm cold. I'm never cold, and I'm cold. This is my stuff.
Thank you. Good night.
Take care of this part.
Thank you, sir. You can log me out? Okay. All right. Everybody out. No,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to see you all. Sergeant?
Oh.